Welcome to Lesson 1, where we'll be covering preparation. Before you can make beautiful cupcakes, you'll need to bake them. Here are some tips to help you bake more consistent looking cupcakes. Whether baking from scratch or using a box mix, make sure that the ingredients are well combined in your batter. I like to transfer my batter to a large measuring cup. The spout will help me pour the batter. Always use a cupcake liner when baking your cupcakes. Here I have a paper-lined foil cupcake liner. I use a large spoon to help me pour the batter into my liners like this. Only fill the cupcake liner halfway. This is to prevent the cupcakes from baking over the edge. Now they're ready for the oven. I bake my cupcakes on 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 165 degrees Celsius for about 15 minutes before checking for doneness with a toothpick. When the toothpick comes out clean, the cupcakes are done. I place them on a wire rack to cool completely. Always make sure your cupcakes are at room temperature before icing them. I'm using decorator icing and gel paste food color. Gel paste food coloring can be found online and at your local grocery store or hobby store with a food crafts section. To color icing, start with medium consistency icing in a bowl. This should be thicker than whipped icing and not be too soft. Start by squeezing a few drops of gel color onto the icing. And stir it with a spoon or spatula. Be sure to stir the icing until the color is consistent throughout the icing. Now repeat this step for all of the colors you're using. I have 2 more colors to make. Never use liquid food coloring to color your icing. It will make your icing soft and your piped buttercream decorations will lose their shape. Now that all of the icing is colored, let's prepare our decorating bags and fill them with the icing. We'll need 12-inch disposable decorating bags and a pair of scissors. We'll also be practicing on parchment paper, so keep that handy. Throughout this class, we'll be using a number 21 piping tip or nozzle. The number 21 should be etched into the side of the tip. The top of this tip has several prongs that form a star when piped. This tip is very versatile, and you'll see why later. Start by placing the tip down into the bag and push it all the way to the very end. Next, open a pair of scissors and score the bag about 1/4 of an inch or about 6 millimeters past the openings on the side of the tip. Next, gently push the tip back into the bag slightly. Look for the score mark that you've just made and then use the scissors to cut the tip of the bag off at the score mark as straight as possible. Finally, push the tip back to the end of the bag like this. To fill the bag with icing, fold the sides of the bag down halfway and position the bag over your hand. Next, use a spoon or spatula to gather the icing and place it down into the bag. Only fill the bag about halfway. Once the icing is in, Fold the sides of the bag back up. Now we're going to flatten the top of the bag and gather and squeeze the icing down toward the tip. I like to squeeze a little bit of icing back into my bowl to release any air bubbles near the bottom of my bag. Now repeat these steps to fill each bag with colored icing. There are times when you may want to simply ice the top of your cupcakes. This can be done with a spatula. First, place a medium-sized dollop of icing onto the top of the cupcake. Next, using a spatula, smooth out the icing, flattening from the center and moving outward toward the sides. Round the icing at the edges slightly. Next, allow the cupcake to sit for about 15 minutes for the icing to set. If you can touch the icing like this without getting any icing on your fingers, that means the icing is set. To smooth out any remaining lumps or bumps, take a square piece of parchment paper and make sure that it is rolling up and away from your cupcake. Next, place the parchment paper over your cupcake and gently smooth the icing with your finger through the parchment. Now we're ready to transform your cupcakes. Let's start with lesson 2.